Buenas noches. Puitiguyo Mabriga. Honso Madogo. Good evening, everyone. Let me wait for you guys to populate. And share this. Yanita Bernaldez, saludos. Mabriga, Janet Sánchez, Mabriga, hermano Suazo, primo, ¿qué pedo? Puitiguyo, Mabriga, Honso Madogo. Ok, tenía que mandar este mensaje. Estoy seteando un meeting para esta semana con una persona. Saludos familia, saludos. Puitiguyo, Mabriga, Honso Garinagu, Honso Madogo. Budume ba kunye luma trouble. Luago dale hamuga holding irahin or hisani mutu lida luba afende ni kabala hatuya ha. Diga ba wadume wadume agunya ida luba la hamuga hayuso ni le hatuya be lu hichu ubafu honga ino. Le libase be yano ugunya. What's up, Kirk? Idem, Mabruiga, Buitigunho, good evening. Mason Garcia, Chantel, Buitigunho. Mario Hill, Buitigunho. Joseph, Etiagaton. Campo Santo Rosa, Buitigunho. Primo, we're going to talk about majors. When Garifuna youth go into college or university setting, what majors should they focus on? And how that could be used to build our nation. That's the topic. Lo voy a repetir en español también. Cuando la juventud garífuna hoy en día va a la universidad, ¿cuál área ellos deben de enfocarse para estudiar? Para que nos ayude a nosotros como comunidad. Hermano, me acaba de mandar un texto, déme invitarlo. Debe invitar a hermano Trevor. Lula Dumi had Trevor one in Wama. right, so I just sent Brother Trevor an invite. So you should be joining us shortly. Very important as we're moving forward as a community. I know that America has a lot of opportunities, but it also has um, its nuances. So we have to also keep that in mind as well. Which majors are going to be financially viable? Because you could also go to school and not make that much money. That's a reality. There's a lot of educated people that don't earn a lot, and they have a PhD. So we're gonna talk about those type of majors as well. What majors to stay out of? Yes, we do need business. We do need business. Business administration is too broad because it has to have a focus. And you can't teach people how to run a business. That's something that they actually have to do, especially in today's marketplace. It's it's different than before. The marketing and the promotional tactics are different. You really have to have like some type of your product has to be very unique. So, what's up, cuz? Jose Suazo, Daisy Batiz, Mabruiga, Letitia Peterson, greetings. Negri Roches, Mabruiga home. Honso Modago, Nani Barahona, Mabruiga. Hermana Mercy, Mabruiga home. Isan, what's going on, Isan? Carlos Suazo, Mabruiga. Ashley, Mabruiga. Primo, Arad Roches, Mabruiga home. Desde Roatán. How you doing, Sixter Hoyt? Greetings. Nisa, greetings to you too, from Yurume. La Humilde Cruz, Michael Cupid, greetings. Don Sabio Quevado, saludos a usted. Este gato, Trevor, Babriga home.
Mabruiga, ma buitira bambe. Buitira
Buitira babe.
E ka filo be Mabruiga hon su hawa hon su wani go hayama be wama. Trevor Palacio needy ni hanibu ga ya garifuna de va blanco no yoru. Buite chile ilu Mabruiga. Gawati watati man.
Ok, nega aí lohon híbrido logo gibete na mutu ya to PhD nega yete la escola no é PhD hama per madiga tinha senso so le ya no le wo dume be ogunye kaba la tuya irahi garino go hanyu do bentido universidade lo lidon luba friend ani kaba la tuya lu hamuga hichugo maso bafo won ke mo garino go la diga le wadaga be luti wadaga kate ya lumage huliligati balisi wadima lumage yurume so soon le travel buseti sense
Buseti get sense
itali luti wasame na ke moga italian le gulida gaifuna pero nego belida chumago emprendedores or entrepreneurs.
Right. We need them.
We had that before. We had that before in the community because it was along our cultural philosophy. Yeah, but we're natural at that.
Yeah, all of us are still entrepreneurs. Different people are still entrepreneurs, especially if they're back home. All of them are still entrepreneurs.
Right. So, but now we need these people back home. They need a clash influx.
Right.
They need capital so they could scale up their businesses.
Right.
And I think that's where we come from because we have the opportunity to give them that type of financial backing from
Right.
here.
Right.
They just need to scale up the businesses.
Right.
You know, and this comes from the consciousness that we are Garinagu.
Right.
Our body, Amurununi. This is where that cultural philosophy comes in.
Right.
That we have to help them out because the total goal of the game is for them not to immigrate to Honduras, so they could stay
That,
self-sufficient in
right.
Honduras, Belize, and in Guatemala.
Right.
Because we see the viciousness of that trajectory once they get here.
Right. Right.
So as I'm thinking about Vallecito, and that's the context that I'm using for this conversation. Like if we let's say Vallecito became autonomous and we became like a reservation, um, like the Cherokee, the Shinnecock, the all these other Indian tribes here in America.
Mm-hmm.
What if Vallecito did was that for Garinago in Honduras? Like how will we build ourselves?
Right. Right.
Like what majors do we have to study or what areas do we have to like really focus on in order to build ourselves and use capitalism in a way that it doesn't take us from our humanity
Right.
as Garinago,
Well,
like the way we did it in the past.
I would have to say, that's definitely the long-term goal, to get to the point where we can actually position ourselves, be it here in the United States of America or in Belize, Nicaragua, throughout the Garifuna diaspora, where we could position ourselves to elevate ourselves as a people, right? Where we have leverage from the community, from within the community, Garifuna, from the Garifuna community, for the Garifuna community, by the Garifuna community, right? That would be the ideal long-term goal. But our conversation today is about education. We must educate to elevate, right?
Right.
So I believe that Garifuna people, as Ruben Reyes, the president of Garifuna Nation, and I were talking, he says that you and I as Garifuna people are in a very unique position in world history. What did he mean by that? Vince Fletcher, Sully Bernardez, Rio Hogan. What he meant by that is we are in the process of reformation of our nation. Okay?
Right. We have to define ourselves.
We have to redefine ourselves. Not that other people are set in their ways and ready to go, but us, we are in a unique opportunity to redefine ourselves and establish ourselves. So it's in 2018 where technology, internet service is at our hands, right? So bringing it back to education, if we have an opportunity to reestablish ourselves, then we agree that education is where we need to start. What kind of degrees should Garifuna youth be pursuing? Earlier you mentioned that there are people with PhDs and don't have jobs.
Yes, well, we have to pay attention to the American marketplace, like what the degrees or what sectors or industries are in demand right now.
Mm-hmm.
And as we speak, I happen to graduate from SUNY Buffalo, and I stay abreast of everything that's going on with the new majors and so forth. There's a department called biomedical engineering.
Okay.
I believe it's not, is it the department under bioinformatics, but that's, I believe, is another major. But these new majors like biomedical engineering or bioinformatics, we need to be in there. And these are majors that are heavily um, science-based majors.
Okay.
So how do we get our kids to be at that level of science so that they could get into these very competitive programs?
Right.
Because biomedical and bioinformatics, I mean, you're talking about, using computers at the level where you're programming computers and robotics and all these other new generation industry sectors.
Right.
So the thing is, for us, are we educating our children to that level that we can put them in these competitive programs?
No, we're not.
Because we got to answer that question first before we say, okay, you got to go study this.
Right.
It starts like, are they at that education? Are they going to competitive high schools?
Yeah, exactly. So we're not even at, we're a little bit ahead of ourselves, you and I, in this conversation about talking about degrees, right? Because think about it, our fathers, your and my fathers, their education level maybe went up to the 6th grade.
Right. If we're lucky.
If we're lucky, you know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
my dad went up to the 3rd or the 4th grade, right? So it's you who has a degree. So it's going to take about a generation, right, of us talking, having these types of conversations right here, identifying youth who really have talent and providing them with scholarships, just like we're doing through the Garifuna 2020 Consortium and Habafu Irahinyu with Sister Deshawn Arzu out of Los Angeles. We have a $1,200 scholarship. This is the beginning. This is the beginning to these things, Pablo, leading up to education, right? And the scholarship is basically saying age 8 to 22, tell us what it means to be Garifuna in 2018. Tell us what it means to be Garifuna after 221 years of exile in the world. And really, all we want these youth to do, or what we want them to do, is really research Garifuna dwelling.
Right.
Right. So that's where the basic start, I would have to say, be where we're going to say we're going to bring them into education by making sure we afford them opportunities. Biometric chemistry, you said?
Bioinformatics, biomedical engineering.
Okay. That's not a cheap degree. That's not a cheap
these
degree.
But they could, we gotta think positive, no? Like we gotta think that they're, because if there's a will, if there's a way. To put myself through school, Trevor,
Right.
I had to work 3 jobs. I had the work study job, I had a job off campus, and I was a RA.
Right. And I'm not
and that's to get my bachelor's.
I'm not saying
they could do it.
But
they could do it.
But if you had more support, think about what I'm saying.
Right.
Okay, because in the Jewish community, they have support.
Right, that's a totally different community, which is around their religion.
Yeah, okay.
Because their religion plays a big role in that. So is the Muslim community.
Same thing with us in Ugulendo. Same thing with us in Ugulendo. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of people are not familiar with Ugulendo, though. Okay. They don't even know what that is.
Okay, true. And we don't have to go into that conversation today, but you make a very valid point. Just like the Jews, good night, Brother Doug, King Howard, Ronnie Castillo, Roches, bro, blessings. When you look at the Jewish community and our community, we have the same potential to prepare ourselves and establish ourselves through our philosophy of Ugulendo. Some call it the glue. You know what I'm saying? And that's the glue that we have, that if we would just centralize our energies there, per se, then we could establish a $10,000 scholarship for every Garifuna kid that graduates from high school.
Right.
Because it's going to be funded by the Garifuna community.
Right. But we need that consciousness. It has to be community wide.
Right.
And there has to be a group, like you mentioned the Jewish community, they have their religion.
Right.
The Muslim community, they have their religion.
Right.
And all like different factors of their life centers around the religion.
Right.
We have Ugulendo, we could do that, but we just don't embrace it.
Right.
So how do we embrace it? How do we embrace our cultural philosophy?
We're doing it right
in our religion and spirituality system.
Right. We're doing it right now. Black Star, Abaisini Black Star from Houston, Texas. We're doing it right now by putting together this live show, talking about educating to elevate the Garifuna community, while we're also bringing up the term Ugulendo. A lot of people have not heard the word Ugulendo. I had never heard the word Ugulendo until I heard it through you. So, right? So this is how we're going to do it. This is how it's going to manifest, right? And like Black Star, he's a friend of mine. We grew up in Houston, Texas. The other day, he had a kid graduate from high school, kid. He had a kid graduate from high school, right? But we don't have scholarships in place as Garifuna people to say, hey, You've graduated. You've come to this point. We're going to help you. We're going to help you figure out how to get to the next level so you can get that biometric chemistry degree that you're talking about. So that you don't have to necessarily work 3 jobs.
Right. They could make enough money working if they see. The thing is, like, we do have a lot of persons that have advanced degrees, but these degrees are outdated, and they're basically useless. Like my sociology degree, my 4 year sociology degree is useless.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that I can't necessarily use it to get a job.
Okay, so
it doesn't stand out.
So what kind of degree, if we could name a few degrees, I know business management is one. If we could name a few degrees that our children should go for sure, off the top.
Right.
Go ahead.
Hold on a second. Let me scroll up because I wrote these down
Okay.
over here. Okay. So first, let's deal with, the whole context of falla, of Vallecito.
Okay.
What would we need in Vallecito for it to flourish and excel and sustain itself as an autonomous community in Honduras?
Right.
We need agricultural engineers because we
Right.
have a lot of land, Trevor.
Right.
We have a lot of land.
Right.
We need people to test out the soil, see, what crops can be planted in different times of the year,
Right.
and how we can maximize them growing and then exporting them.
Exporting, right.
Or selling them to the markets in Central America or in Honduras.
Mm-hmm.
We need computer science people.
Okay.
So they could set up
Computer science.
these, so they could set up these programs so they could connect us to the digital age.
Right.
And there's like, a whole different wave of things that we could do with them as well.
Right.
The computer science majors. So
Right.
we need it. We need people that have master's degree in that.
Right.
People that could create, apps.
Right.
So we could stay in contact with each other and then connect that to the agricultural.
Okay, so we have agricultural engineers. We have computer science technicians. What else?
We need construction management.
Okay.
We need construction management majors. People that know about solar energy.
Right.
And
right.
they know
right.
how to manipulate water, because there's rivers by Vallecito.
Mm-hmm.
They could use that and convert it into energy. And that's where, the computer systems and the agricultural, they actually merge.
Right, right.
So
right.
we need people that are very familiar with that. Even if we could get someone to go to Vallecito like every 6 months and to teach these things,
right.
that's very helpful.
So it could be so what you're saying about Vallecito, for those who don't know, blessings to Miriam Miranda in Honduras. He never say Junito. Miriam Miranda, an orphan, and recently acquired some Garifuna land from cartels, from drug cartels right there in Honduras. And the name of the place is Vallecito. So Ariola Bros, Black Star, Doug, look into Vallecito because it could be our model city. And what Pablo is saying, if we were to take these engineers, if we were to take these doctors, if we could take these people that are into computer science and begin to build that model city in Vallecito, then we could learn from Vallecito how to disperse those efforts to Belize, Nicaragua, St. Vincent, Guatemala. Is that right, Pablo?
Yes, because what we need to rebuild our nation. The experience in Honduras for us as Garifuna people has been one of tolerance because from my research and from my experience of visiting there, the government doesn't really they just tolerate us. I mean, they don't really want us there. We were there since 1797, and we, look at the historical trajectory. We made some strides,
right.
But they're not substantial enough that we could sustain ourselves there as a community.
No,
because if we were, we wouldn't be even immigrating to the United States.
No, but the intention has never been about autonomy for Garifuna, though. It's never been about empowering the Garifuna community to be able to do something for itself, Pablo. And check this out. Doug King Howard says, I think we teach our children to go to college and get a job working for someone else. Now, in our case, if I could just say this real quick, Pablo, and you can speak on that, because I agree partially. But in our case, our children, if we're rebuilding our nation, and don't forget the ILO 169, Joseph Guerrero, thank you for introducing the ILO 169 to me and the UNDRIP document. You introduced both of those documents to me. Both of
Well,
these,
Trevor, if you pay attention to those videos that I shared of
right,
Offline versus the state of Honduras, they
right,
use those in
okay,
their arguments.
okay, okay,
So that pertains to us, in today's terms, hard body.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
Those that the UN Charter, the ILO 169, those pertain to us in Honduras because that's the only, well, one of um, the legal documents, living documents that we could use as an
right,
argument to why we are indigenous and
right.
why we have to have access to this land.
And my point in saying and bringing up the ILO 169 and the UNDRIP is because of what Doug King just said about us teaching our children to go work for someone else. That happens in a lot of communities, but I bring up the ILO and the ILO 169 and the UNDRIP because each one of them have secured funding for Garifuna people because of our indigenous status in each country that we live in. So that once we establish an economic plan, once we establish an infrastructural plan, Doug King, our children are going to be coming back to work in Garifuna communities. Okay? That's what's going to happen. They're not going to go work for the man. They're going to come back and work. They're going to be working, the agriculturists are going to be working on Garifuna land, making sure that we harvest the best of the best, and those who are into sales are going to be the one marketing the agricultural product that we'll be able to sell to go out. So they'll be working for the Garifuna community and not for anyone else.
But see, you got to understand this too, Trevor. When you consider us as a nation, right, and we should all look at ourselves as a nation.
And we are.
It's important that we keep our idiosyncrasy.
Right.
What do I mean by that? It means that we have our own peculiarity as a community.
Right.
We have our own set ways of doing things. We need to maintain that in respect to this capitalistic system that we live under.
Right. Right.
So I think that's very important as well. I mean, Doug, he mentioned something because every immigrant that comes to this country, we're happy of being here. We have all this opportunity, but I think it has to be focused.
Yeah, but look,
if you're going to school,
right, like you said earlier, those in our community have outdated degrees, right? But that's just one half, because there's another half that actually have dated degrees. I mean, up-to-date degrees that are just not, and you just said it, they are not centralizing the efforts or the potential of their degrees and bringing it back into the Garifuna community.
I tell you why that's the case.
I know a guy.
I tell you why.
I know a guy who's a 3D engineer, Garifuna. I know
that disconnect.
I know several attorneys, Garifuna, several doctors, Garifuna, but none of them are bringing forth their efforts to say, why don't we start a Garifuna law firm? Why don't we start a Garifuna nursing facility? Why don't we start a Garifuna grocery store?
Well, I tell you why. There's a certain level of apathy and indifference.
Back to apathy.
Apathy is, it's not.
How do you define apathy to the people? How do you define apathy?
If it doesn't affect me, if it has nothing to do with me, I don't care.
Right. Right.
And there's a lot of Garifuna people that feel that way.
Right.
The indifference comes in is, the same thing. I mean, it's just, if it doesn't affect them personally or within their circle, it's the individual. It goes back to individualism.
Right.
Something that we learned here in this country. But we can't really go by that because we're a community. Our thing is communal. Our cultural philosophy is communal. I for you, you for me. That's communal.
Right.
So we can't think like that because that's going against our cultural philosophy.
Right.
And cuz you're right, that is selfishness, but that's something that we learn, cuz
right,
Adiola.
right,
That's something that we learn here. That's not us as a community.
right, right. But you know what the problem, Pablo, is, and Ariola, Andy Ordonez, Doug, the problem is leadership. And I want to bring it back to that, and we're going to keep it on education. Because if there is a central group, you call it the critical mass that
Right.
we have been working on, and that's why Mabruiga Garinagu exists, which is along with Gary Vision out of California. We are establishing a media system for Garifuna people, so our voice can be heard through one or maybe two channels. But once you press that one button, you get the word, right? You get the information.
Right.
Going back to the leadership, there isn't a central group of Garifuna people saying, look, we have to care for the Garifuna body. I say all the time, Garinagu before Garifuna. El Garinagu antes que el Garifuna. Garinagu lubag y Garifuna. And right now it's opposite. That's our boom amurum. It's not you for I for me and you for me. I for me and you for me. And so it's all about me. And like Ariola says, it ends up being selfish. But like Pablo said, it is not in our nature as Garifuna people to be selfish. We're not.
See, so there's like a power struggle once we come to this country,
Right.
and we just get lost in it, man. We just get lost in this whole system, and we stop caring. We stop caring for each other, and that's sad. And that's sad because we have a lot of potential if we was to think on a community level
Right.
like we traditionally have.
Right.
But
Right.
let me go back to these majors.
Okay.
Nursing. We
Nurse.
need different types of nurses.
Mhm.
Pediatrics. We need doctors,
Right.
different levels of doctors, internal medicine. We need doctors that are really familiar with the cardiovascular system
Right.
because we have issues with diabetes and hypertension.
Right.
We need physical therapists for the aging. We need people that are familiar with
Yeah.
different disease that different people catch at different ages.
Right.
We need corporate lawyers.
Yeah.
Corporate lawyers that are familiar with all these,
Intellectual property.
legalized terms.
Right. Right.
All of that.
Yeah.
We need a team of lawyers,
Right.
that just focused on the context of Garifuna, like
Right.
how these laws apply to us as an indigenous
Right.
community.
Right. Right.
We need accountants and we need economists.
And let me
Now this is for, Vallecito.
right. I want to bring it back a little bit on what you were saying because Alan H. Palmer just said no government is going to intentionally contribute. I can't see the rest of it, but he's absolutely right about that. But Pablo just hit it on the head. Alan, that's why we need corporate lawyers. That's why we need actually lawyers in every realm of law to represent the interests of Garifuna because we're dealing with immigration, we're dealing with human rights, we're dealing with civil rights, we're dealing with too much that is surrounded and bounded by law.
Yes, and we don't have proper representation in those areas
Right,
as of now.
right,
We do, because we do have a lot of, we do have persons in the community that are very educated. They're accomplished. Um, but there's a segment that don't have that. They don't have like the drive to inject that knowledge into the community.
yeah. Could you imagine, Pablo?
So that's a struggle that we have.
Right. Could you imagine if there was that critical mass? If we had Alan H. Palmer, Ariola Roches, Doug King Howard, Black Star, Ronnie Castillo, Roche Bro, Vince Fletcher, Sully Bernardes, yourself and myself, dressed up real nice and sharp, and when Garifuna people see us, we're representing the interest of Garifuna people on a consistent basis. Would you imagine? Could you imagine who's gonna really come out to support? I think that there's a lot of support that's out there, but it's dormant. Okay, people have been burnt.
Right. We gotta awaken it.
Yeah, but it's because people have been burnt, though. People have been deceitful. People have been inconsistent. People don't communicate. People don't follow through. You know what I'm saying? People in the community is robbed by their own people. Come on, man. You know, and the only way we could do anything to kind of counter that is to do what we're doing again, and I repeat, through Mabruiga Garinagu, which is what you're watching right now, Brother Pablo Blanco in New York, and myself, Trevor Palacio, right here in San Francisco, California. And we have Gary Vision, who does their live representing Belize and the entire diaspora on Thursdays. We're here because we're initiating educate to elevate. Were there any more degrees that are, and if you could do a rundown of them again, because we have a few more people, were there any more degrees that you wanted to mention? And then if we could do another rundown on them again.
They are. Well, I just mentioned the degrees that are useful in building a nation. Some of those degrees are high paying, would have the potential to be high paying jobs once you attain them.
Right.
The next set of degrees that I'm going to mention is the degrees that are in demand right now that lead to the $100,000 plus salaries in different parts of the United States.
Right.
But I'm going to give a rundown of the degrees that I mentioned before in terms of what we need in Vallecito.
So before you
economist,
before you do that,
accountant.
Pablo, before you do that, what would you tell the parents that are watching before, because you have a degree, I have a GED, you have a degree. Okay, before you go into the degrees, what would you directly tell the parents who have these young Garinagu boys and girls getting ready to graduate high school and go into higher learning before you go into that?
Well, as you know, Trevor, I have a 14-year-old son, and he's going to be attending high school next year. So I've just been, this is personal for me. Because I'm dealing with it now. And one of the things that I told my son, who is very disciplined, and God be the glory. Thank God for that.
Right.
I don't have to tell him he has to do his work. He's like a military. He's like a soldier when it comes to those books.
Right.
He was like me when I was younger.
Right.
So I've been fortunate in that regard. But the parents, they got to understand that math and science is the only thing that their children should focus on. Math and science and English. They have to learn, they just have to know how to read and write very well.
Right.
Because when it goes into word problems, which math and science emphasize on, their level of reading and writing has to be high.
Right.
So they could figure out the word problems.
Right.
So English, math, and science.
Right.
Those three are the most important subjects that parents should really help their children on. I mean, there's a lot of resources for them, like Khan Economy. My son started using that because he struggles in science a bit. And I'm looking into other, workshops that he could attend so they could strengthen up his science.
Excuse me.
His knowledge of science, because science is very broad.
Okay.
Physics is very important. Chemistry, that's very important.
Okay.
So physics, chemistry, English, math, those are very, very important subjects that parents should really hone in and help their children out with.
Right.
Because it's gonna get harder as they progress into their high school years.
Right. Right. I would.
And they're gonna need it. Yeah, and they're gonna need it for college if they want to get into these majors that's paying the 100 plus.
Right.
Out the gate with a bachelor's. I have friends that graduate with an electrical engineering degree. They're making over 100, 150.
Right.
It depending on the state.
Right. 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 And I like to add that you have to remind your children, and Pablo is about to go down the list of degrees that he recommends we should focus on as a scholar, because we're in the process of rebuilding our nation. And these would be the degrees that if our children were to focus on these degrees, they could get these degrees and they can come back and work for the Garifuna community to empower the Garifuna community for Garifuna by Garifuna. But before you go down that list, parents, remind your children that they are the sons and the daughters of kings and queens. They are the sons and the daughters of independent men and women who have always been free, who have always been economically self-sustained. And all we're looking to do now is to take that to a whole other level to complement this new millennium. So, Pablo, what were those degrees again?
And also, I want to add that you want to make yourself marketable as well.
Right.
It depends on the school that you go to. I mean, it gets political after a while.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of Garifuna persons that graduated from, you know, these high-profile schools like Yale, Harvard, Princeton, Brown. You know, a couple of people from my family, they graduated from these high-level degrees. I mean, from these high-profile schools.
Right.
But you don't have to go to those schools. Just go to one that concentrates on that particular major.
Right.
You know, we have very good engineering schools like MIT. My school, SUNY Buffalo, has a great engineering program.
Right.
Civil, industrial, and all different mechanical, all different sectors of engineering. They have a good program. And hey, Donna, so the degrees going into college are the following. And I know a lot of people like Isan, she's in high school, I believe, about to go to college. Isan, you should pay attention to this. Agricultural,
Right.
this is in the context of Ayesito,
Right.
but they could be used here as well.
No, anyway.
Agricultural engineers, computer management information systems, computer information systems, the understanding of how networks are built and the computer systems.
Right.
We need those people. Chemical engineering, construction management, nursing, definitely. Nursing, that's like 90,000 off the gate.
Right.
With a bachelor's degree. Physical therapists, depending on what school, that's also 90,000 off the gate. Pediatric doctors, all type of different doctors, internal medicine, cardiovascular, anesthesiologists, corporate lawyers, accountants, and economists. This is in the context of Vallecito. Now, the high-paying degrees that you know, because we got to structure and plan this out, right, Trevor?
Right.
Moving forward, we're going to need capital.
Right. Yes, we do.
So we could build this nation or help build this nation.
Right.
Emergency and disaster management. Yes, that's another degree.
Christy David.
Christy.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, you are correct. That is another one that we need.
Very important.
Because the way I'm thinking about it, we have to sustain ourselves. Like Brother Doug King said, we can't depend on the government. We never see the thing about Garinagu, we never depended on the government.
Never.
Traditionally, we never did.
Right.
We never did to this day because we know the way they move, and we got to continue on that track. So the degrees that reap financially are the following. We mentioned computer science, master level or PhD level. Electrical engineering, master's or PhD level. Economics, master's or PhD level. Computer engineering, management information systems. Electrical and computer engineering. Finance. Yeah. I remember when I was working as a desktop support technician at Merrill Lynch, there was these guys in, I forget the name of the department, but it's a new sector of finance. They were making $500,000 a year.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. That's the type of money. And these are young guys.
Yeah.
Like I was old. At the time, I was in my early 30s.
Okay.
These guys were like just getting out of Michigan, University of Michigan, Ohio State, making $500,000.
Yeah. Hey.
So finance is very,
Right.
very lucrative.
Right.
Accounting, chemical engineering, systems engineering, or anything that has to do with computers.
Right. Right.
Physics.
And
you know, I'm just reading some mechanical engineering.
Right. Ariola Roches Walumugu says we need good teachers. And Ariola, you actually, out of everything that we've said, all of them were important. But I think Ariola, in our closing of our segment today, you bring us to the most important component. Because
right, the educators.
The educators. You know what I'm saying? We need educators that actually give a damn. You know what I'm saying? We need educators that are actually educated, right? We need educators that understand that the Garifuna people, and this is important, that we are a particular type of people, and therefore we must be dealt with in a particular type of way. Not that we're better than anybody, not that we're special versus someone else, but we are a particular type of people that requires a particular type of treatment.
Right. So the educators that we bring into the community, because they don't necessarily have to be Garifuna. They don't necessarily have to be Garifuna, but they have to be sensitive to our plight.
Right.
So there's a level of sensitivity that they must have and patience that they must have.
Right.
When they teach us. You know, and this preferably should come from the community, because we have a lot of, as quiet as it's kept, we have a lot of educators in our community, Trevor.
Yes, I know.
A lot.
You know what? I was proposing that when they retire, we're asking every educator, when you retire, take a 1 year hiatus in Honduras, in Belize, or Nicaragua, and go teach. Just 1 year, and go back and just see what's happening, because yes, we have a ton of educators, which means we have a lot of potential, man. I'm excited about what Ariola really said, because that to me is something to focus on, Pablo. Teachers.
Right. We have them. I mean, my grandmother, she was a principal in the Boston school system. You know, she was one of the first Garifuna to get a PhDs back in the 70s, and she had 5 kids.
Right.
So, you know, there's no excuse. Like I said, Trevor, if there's a will, there's a way. I mean, here in America, there's like, I think we have too much freedom here. Well, why do I say that? Because, as you know, I just got back from Cuba, and these are people that supposedly don't have any freedom, but they have like some sort of structure to follow by, and that structure is enforced.
Right.
They have an enforcement mechanism.
Right.
I don't feel like we have that enforcement mechanism here. Like kids in Cuba, if they don't go to school up to the like the 9th grade, their parents could go to jail.
Right.
Could you imagine if we had that type of enforcement system here in this country?
Well,
or we could develop one in the community where the kids are disciplined, and you know, they take their studies seriously.
Yeah.
Because quiet as it kept, Trevor, we have a lot of Garinagu that were born here, and they are home attendants.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're supers.
Right. Yeah. Right.
How does that happen?
Right.
And they were born here.
Right. Hey, it comes from not having a structure in place for our children. Okay? Because I'm not going to blame them, and we can't blame them for ending up being home attendants, because there has not been that.
There's nothing wrong with being a home attendant.
Of course, there's not.
There's nothing being a home attendant. My mother did that. My mother did that throughout her work life.
Right.
You know, but that motivated me to do something better.
Right.
Because she always told me, and that just stay with me.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But in order for that to happen, though, there has to be a community infrastructure, an infrastructure for this.
Right.
Lately, I've been telling myself, the Garifuna is one body. You're a Garifuna man. You're one body. I'm a Garifuna man. I'm one body. Donna Madden, Garifuna woman, you're one body. Christy David, Garifuna person, you're one body. The point is, you are a body. But the Garinagu, as a whole, we're also a whole body. And just like you tend to the individual Garifuna, you also have to tend to the Garinagu body. You with me? And there has to be, because look, some kids are going to be blessed, bro, to actually, their grandmother was a dishwasher, and now they're engineers. That's going to happen, right? But when you're dealing with a body of people, if there's not a structure in place to help make these things happen, we're going to have less successful people. Period. Look, Garinagu, we're one body. We're one body as Garinagu people, and we need to operate that way if we're going to be successful not as individuals. That's my point here. I know a lot of successful Garifuna people, but the Garinagu people,
dude, we got millionaires in the community, Trevor.
Yeah.
We got millionaires in the community. We got Garinagu people that live in Park Avenue, that live in the Hamptons, they live in these exclusive areas in New York City, but you wouldn't know it. They do not come out to the community.
Right.
They refuse to come out to the community.
Right. Well,
but we do have Garifuna millionaires. We got a brother in Utah from Belize that's a millionaire.
And he's awesome people.
You know, so it's like, exactly. But we need to bring these people back into the community. You know, talk to them. They may need to, like, be part of symposiums and workshops.
Yeah.
And include them. I think that's our job, to bring these people back in and see.
But they gotta reach out.
Teach them what Ugolindo is, and
they gotta reach out.
It's a battle.
Yeah, they gotta reach out. They have to watch.
Yeah, it's something that you gotta work on.
Yeah, they have to watch what we're doing and actually reach out and say, hey, my name is Donna Madden, and I'm an attorney. Hey, my name is Sandra Miranda, and I'm an accountant. Hey, my name is Christy David, and I work at the office of the President of the United States of America, right? They have to reach out and say, this is what we potentially can do to help alleviate the community if you guys are serious. And then on our end, we got to make sure that we're consistent. We just don't talk the talk,
right?
And the rubber don't meet the road. And Pablo, our time has come to an end. You're going to bring us to a close.
Yeah, I want to keep this in mind. There's one black community that's and they're a nation within themselves too, that's actually doing it. Let's focus. Let's do some research on the Nigerian community. Look at the majors that they're studying, because a lot of them, they are doing it in this country.
Right.
You know, and my community board, he's a doctor.
Right.
A lot of Nigerians have very, very good jobs in this country. Let's talk to them and have a conversation with them and see how they do it. We know that the Jewish people, they have their religion, and the Jewish and the Muslim community.
Right.
Every Nigerian that I talk to, it's just a different mentality. You know, it's like they could take over the world type of thing.
Yeah, is that a real estate, doctor, or something?
We need to have that type of energy and fervor for education.
Right. Right.
You know, we have it, but it's just in pockets. It's not community wide.
Right. Well,
it needs to be community wide.
It's a good beginning with what we're doing here, introducing, educate to elevate. And we want everyone to know that this is going to be a consistent conversation because one of the things that we're focused on is our Garif for the youth. Okay, Garif for the youth. And we need volunteer opportunities for them. We need scholarships for them. We need one-on-one time with them. It's a whole lot
Summer jobs. Summer jobs.
Jobs. Yep, we need jobs for them. So you want to bring us to a close, Pablo?
Yes. So this conversation is ongoing. Next week, we're going to develop a flyer. We're going to have a different conversation, but it's every Sunday at 10 p.m. in which myself, Trevor, discuss issues that affect the Garifuna community. I believe education is our route to liberation.
Right. Yes. Yes, it is.
Because
no pun.
In the state that we're in right now, that's where we're in a war. We're in a psychological, ideological war in Honduras.
Right.
And that manifests itself by the way that we're dealing with this land issue.
Right.
And the way that Garifuna communities are dealing with the land issues as well. The apathy and indifference is very heavy in our community. We have to stop thinking like that.
Yes,
we have to bring it back to our cultural philosophy, which is Aurabuni, Amurununi. I for you, you for me. We got to bring it back to that.
Right.
Amurununi, Aurabuni, Amurununi.
Yeah. Yeah. So we to go in your home sungu bay Trevor Palacio Nidi Yage, California. We to Chilu Lu Mabruiga Garinagu Luma Mabruiga New York.
Buitigunyo hong so madago, you so madago, Yurumain, Belize, Wadimaru, Ya New York, Nichugu Veme, Yanule, Tida YouTube. So I'm gonna put this conversation on YouTube by tomorrow, so you guys can review it. Tag people, share it. There's a lot of people that, a lot of people my age that have kids, and they're in that path to college.
Right.
Definitely encourage them to go after these majors that I've listed.
Right.
Because one, they're high paying, and two, they're gonna be able to help out the community with these majors as well moving forward as we rebuild our nation.
Easy ni. Aba easy ni hong sungu bay.
Buitigunyo hong so madago.